Good morning to all that's in attendance today. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. I'm Rob Vizzola. I'm Chief Operating Officer here at Mobius Partners. Looking at the attendees, I know many of you, and it's good to see your names popping up in the box here joining us. And for those who don't know me, welcome. It's nice to meet each one of you virtually. I'm super excited today to be co-hosting this event with Jeff Cornelius, who I'm going to introduce in just a moment. Obviously, it's a very timely topic that we're going to be covering. It's titled today, I think it's very fitting. So I think with that, what I'll do is I'll go through and just do a quick intro of who Mobius Partners is for those who might not be familiar with us, and then we'll turn it over and get into the content for today's discussion. So a little bit about Mobius Partners. I'll be fairly brief. Obviously, we'll make ourselves available to go into much greater detail for those that are on this call that might not be familiar with us. But we're Mobius Partners. We've been around since 2000, which for us, we're excited to be celebrating our 20th anniversary. We were founded by Janab Ali and Jay Uribe, the two gentlemen that are pictured on this slide. And really, the company was founded on a couple of key tenets, but we're centered around providing exceptional customer service and really being relationship based and focusing on how we deliver value to all of our customers while creating a culture that's deeply rooted in having fun and empowerment. We're celebrating our 20th year. We consider that to be a tremendous accomplishment, but I think it speaks volumes to just our stability and reliability as a partner. We know 2020 was a very challenging year for us as well as most folks that are on this call. But we're proud that as an organization we're as stable and as reliable as always. We are Texas-based. We're headquartered in San Antonio. We have offices in Houston and Dallas as well, and we do have a presence in Austin. But although we're based in Texas, we support customers throughout the United States and internationally. So we pride ourselves on being a regional player who understands your business, but also someone who has a far-reaching ability to support customers in a multitude of environments and locations. As I mentioned, we are enterprise and global, which is a little different when you look at folks that might be a value-added reseller or a strategic solutions partner starting off in that space. But over the years, we've been able to maintain that position and grow it. But we also feel that it puts us in a unique position to support customers that might be much smaller than that. Having that type of global outreach and capability allows us to bring solutions to folks that might not typically be able to get that type of exposure just because of our size and in our geographic location. We're focused on the relationship that we establish with you as a customer. We're very customer centric. Your goals are our goals. Is centered around being accountable, delivering on promises from the standpoint of being accurate when we provide solutions to you, timely, providing you access to the best resources that are available, truly just acting as an extension of your team. In doing so, we've established a unique structure that allows one-on-one service through account management all the way to technical resources. Our technical resources are some of the best in the industry, very talented. We hold countless certifications and receive recognition as being the experts from, if not all, most all of our key technology partners. We hold, with most of those folks, some type of distinguished status, and often our partners call on us to support them in areas that they might not even be able to do so for themselves. So I think that speaks volumes to our capability and our expertise. And like I said, we pride ourselves on being flexible. We say yes a lot. Being a smaller company provides us a lot of flexibility. You might not see from some of the national players, but I also don't want that to suggest that we don't offer the same capabilities in a broad portfolio of solutions and resources, experts that are available to you by working with a company like Mobius Partners. So we think outside the box, we're flexible, and we're here to help you achieve your goals. At a very high level, I'm not going to go into a great amount of detail. What we do, there's really 5 very specific domains we focus on: digital workspace, DevOps and observability, cloud, data center, and of course, just overall technical architecture. But in all those things that we do, we wrap them with security analytics, strategic and consulting services, and for customers who might need the additional support of contingent support, we offer managed services as well. So that's a very brief overview of who Mobius Partners is and what we do. Like I said, we'd be more than happy to have deeper conversations with anybody on this call who might not know us at your convenience. But with that, I'm very excited to introduce our guest speaker today, Jeff Cornelius. Jeff has been with Darktrace for over 5 years and is recognized as an industry expert. He's an executive vice president within Darktrace. Jeff oversees Darktrace's cyber physical security solutions, while he also serves as a subject matter expert around Darktrace's solutions for OT and ICS environments. Jeff frequently is featured as a keynote speaker at US and global events. And then prior to joining Darktrace, Jeff held several executive and C-level positions, all within the security, compliance, and governmental arenas. Jeff holds several advanced degrees and even taught as an adjunct professor at a couple highly recognized universities. So with that, and without further ado, I'd like to welcome Jeff, and I'm going to hand over the mic now. So Jeff, it's all yours.
All right, thanks, Rob. Really appreciate the introduction. And for everyone on the call, certainly many of you, I recognize your names, and I know we've seen each other at conferences in the past. So good to see your name again, and thank you for joining us today. What I'm going to walk through are some number of slides here, but primarily just to talk track around what we're seeing in the marketplace today. You know, our partnership with Mobius gives us amazing visibility into a very large customer base, along with our own, that helps us understand what's going on in the marketplace and kind of see firsthand what our customers have to deal with. And it's given us great insight into what's going on in the world today. And one of the things that we've noticed over the past, say, 6 to 9 months, maybe 12 months or so, is this, the whole idea of this, the title here, the changing landscape and battle of algorithms. The idea is very simple. Offensive AI is something that is moving more and more into our reality. It's one of the evolving technological advancements that unfortunately we are seeing become reality. Over the past 9 months, we've all experienced something that none of us have ever experienced before, which is this global pandemic and the stay-at-home and work-from-home orders that have come to be and become part of our normal day-to-day life. Well, while we've all been adjusting to a new world order and a new work paradigm and a new way of understanding what's going on in our organizations, the bad guys and gals in the world have also been adjusting. And they've been understanding that the stuff that we've been doing for a while, which is machine learning and artificial intelligence, hey, it works just as well fighting versus defending. So more and more of these threat actors are leveraging AI and machine learning to think about and position for autonomous-based attack vectors. Now, over the past 48 hours or so, we've seen a whole bunch, actually 72 hours or so, we've seen a whole bunch of news from DHS CISA about the SolarWinds breach, and we heard about FireEye last week. And while we certainly don't wish ill on anyone in the cybersecurity defending space, we understand that these things do happen. And this new norm that we're all becoming a part of is in fact a new norm. It's the way the world is becoming, and it is becoming very rapidly. I'm not here to doom and gloom, but I'm hopefully here to share some reality of what we're seeing in the marketplace with you. So today I want to talk a little bit about kind of a paradigm shift in the cyber landscape, this AI, offensive AI and defensive AI perspective. I want to talk about what an immune system approach and autonomous response are to this offensive AI predicament we're in, and then share with you some real world examples of things that we've found. As we know, malware is becoming increasingly advanced and targeted toward very complex digital environments today. No longer are we looking at just simple attacks on network topology within the architectures of organizations globally. We're now looking at attacks in their SaaS and cloud environments, in their email systems, in their cloud-hosted email systems, as well as their technologies that are being leveraged outside of their traditional network environments. In the future, we'll see cyber threat actors leverage AI to supercharge their campaigns. And I'll talk a little bit about what I mean by that, because it's an interesting concept, but it's becoming reality, and we're seeing it more and more. And then I want to talk in position very specifically about how leveraging the same machine learning and AI that threat actors are using to defend is really the only way to protect and mitigate risk in environments. And ultimately, it's going to become a battle of algorithms. It's going to become a fight to figure out who's doing what and who's doing it right. So why are we even talking to you today? I think most of you on this call, many of the names I recognize, know who Darktrace is. You've heard of us. I know you've probably heard of Mobius as well, maybe even worked with us in the past. But one of the things that I wanted to share is there's a reason that you're on this call today. For whatever reason you were brought to the call, maybe our inside sales reps are phenomenal, and Shane Courtney and his team are phenomenal. I have no idea. Well, we know they are. But the point is, Darktrace is around, and you've heard about us because we are the founders of cyber AI. We're the ones who brought this technology to market, leveraging machine learning and AI to defend organizations in a 100% machine learning based paradigm. We are founded in artificial intelligence and founded by mathematicians. That's a key component of ours. We're headquartered in San Francisco in the UK, as you can see there, and over $1 billion in cumulative bookings. So we're definitely in the right place in the marketplace. Most market segments have us leading in cyber AI, and we're the founders and developers of autonomous response as well. So with our customer base of just over 5,000 customers, we get a great deal of exposure to what's going on in the marketplace and the types of threats that we see come across. Now you might think, well, that gives you great visibility into how to write a rule or a signature. No, we don't do that. Instead, we understand what's going on in the marketplace and then predict very, very strongly and accurately what antecedents look like for compromise. And that's where this paradigm shift comes in. As we see more and more threat across the landscape, and we recognize kind of where our world is going, it's not going backwards, obviously. We're advancing. All of us are advancing every day. 5G and IoT devices are ubiquitous in our environments today. We're having a significant challenge right now with the movement of traditional network paradigms outside the traditional network, working from home and defending your employee base when they're no longer connected to your network, when they're either off VPN and their child is using their laptop to download a movie or streaming a service or something like that. You have no visibility into that laptop anymore. You have no visibility into those devices that are being connected to by the remote workers that are coming back into your network and the risk that that inherently brings back into the network. And then to think about the critical national infrastructure that's experiencing the same paradigm shift that we're all experiencing. And the power grids, the water treatment facilities, the hospitals, the telecom infrastructure. These are the challenges that we have to face with our customer base. The challenge is significant and it's real. Within these industries and within these paradigm shifts, threat actors are not sitting back going, oh, we're just going to pick off the easy Bitcoin mining, cryptocurrency mining threats. We're just going to drop nice little ransomware packets and collect a couple $100,000 here and there. And what we're seeing is threat actors take very, very decisive moves within the landscape to figure out where they want to go next and to set themselves up for future behavior. Well, from an offensive AI perspective, they're getting pretty good at it. More and more we see sophisticated ransomware and data destroying malware across our customer base, or attempts at that. This is all very, very highly skilled as normal network behavior. This offensive AI hits businesses at scale and speed, and we've never seen this type of scale and speed before. It infiltrates a target's network and leverages available contextual information to direct attacks and autonomously and automatically decipher where the most valuable data resides and then move into that area. Now, the challenge obviously is that the skill with which these threat actors are infiltrating these organizations is so high that traditional rules and signatures just are not capable of identifying these behaviors. We're seeing increasingly sophisticated strains of ransomware and destructive data malware as well. Automated attacks against internet-facing devices have huge financial and reputational impacts and will combine multiple payloads, but infiltration and then navigation through the environment to set up for future attacks is probably the most challenging issue that we see in the marketplace today. We see steady changes to attacker motivations as well in the industries that they're targeting. Traditionally, hackers have focused on stealing data to monetize and make a quick, easy buck. Today, cyber threats can have much more sinister consequences. Attacks now involve sabotaging and disrupting technology systems that support critical and public infrastructure. What these important innovations indicate is that huge change is poised to completely reshape the threat landscape. Many of these factors, meaning 5G, IoT, cloud, and the changing attack motivations, they'll precipitate a paradigm shift for both the offensive and defensive use of AI and that new cyber landscape where more powerful threat vectors are everywhere. Let's take an example. This is a very poorly crafted spearfishing attack. You can tell it's a spearfishing attack by the use of misspellings and the choice of bad domains, as an example. And all businesses, large and small, will need to be prepared for more impersonation attacks like this. they'll hit employee inboxes because it's the #1 threat vector. We see about 94% of threats originating in the inbox, whether that be a threat to IT, OT, cloud, SaaS, IoT, it doesn't really matter. 94% originate in the inbox. And to understand the extent to which AI enhanced spearfishing emails will create a problem for the threat landscape, let's look at what a typical badly or poorly constructed phishing attack looks like. You see the misspellings, although they're legitimate sounding enough, the sender and the enterprise, they're just a bit off, and they typically would put anybody a bit off when they read this. These are clearly indicative of a campaign that's been programmed by some attacker who is unable or disinclined, let's say, to invest their time in ensuring correct and believable spelling and grammar. This example demonstrates how sufficient internal and social media reconnaissance is often dismissed by human attackers because of the necessities of labor and time investment. If inconsistencies in the style and grammar that you see here and the landscape do not betray the emails as malicious, phishing attacks such as these are often thwarted by traditional perimeter security tools, which is wonderful, right? I mean, our gateways that we leverage today are typically catching these types of poorly or malformed attacks. Now let's take a look at something that's a bit more polished. And this is an example from one of our customers. We've anonymized, of course. Let's look at what these examples look like from an AI-powered perspective. So think about the threat actor who's leveraging AI and machine learning to do the work for them. This email is entirely legitimate seeming, and its context comes from a believable source, and gsftech.com. As we've uncovered, phishing attacks will become automated and highly sophisticated. The distinction between malicious and legitimate will be hardly detectable. AI will be used to significantly reduce the laborious hours of social network research and reconnaissance that today's hackers conduct in order to launch a highly targeted attack. AI does this in seconds today. For any one of you on this call that leverages, for example, the social media platform Facebook, you know that AI and machine learning are working in the background because you can be talking about spaghetti and then all of a sudden an ad for a spaghetti sauce will show up on your Facebook feed, right? This is AI and machine learning operating from an offensive perspective, not just an ad suggestion perspective. If you can do it for spaghetti across Facebook, you know threat actors can do it for social media across all of us. And these impersonation attacks, they'll become even increasingly common as AI is used to automatically generate spearfishing emails that expertly imitate the natural language of trusted colleagues and to create a deepfake video and audio content as well. This is a significant challenge for most in the marketplace because these attacks will look very real, they'll look very timely, they'll be even contextually accurate. These emails, they'll become increasingly successful at improving the speed of exfiltration of sensitive documents and compromised administrative access to target information. In short, these attacks will become contextualized, customized, and believable, improving campaigns both in scale, stealth, and effectiveness. An entirely new approach that acknowledges this complexity is on the horizon. It's here. It's artificial intelligence for cyber defense. And our platform, the Cyber AI platform, secures the digital estate from cloud and SaaS to email, IoT, industrial, and on-prem networks. It leaves nowhere for the attacker to hide in today's world. The purpose of the immune system approach is pretty straightforward. We designed the immune system to mimic the human immune system. The human immune system has an innate capability of understanding self and knowing what is self and what is not self. We designed the immune system approach to cyber security and AI to understand what is normal, what is self within an organization, whether that be your cloud, your SaaS, your email, your traditional networks, your OT, your IoT, your 5G networks, it doesn't really matter. Your entire digital infrastructure is understood from the perspective of what is normal. And then we tell you when something is not normal. So self versus not self. The purpose of that, obviously, is understanding normal gives us a sense of what behaviors are typical and normal within the organization. When those behaviors become abnormal, Darktrace understands in the context of other devices that that is a normal change process, or that there's truly something anomalous about that that needs to be alerted on. So the enterprise immune system is a completely self-learning AI engine. It builds understanding of all actions and behaviors of every individual, every network device, and every network segment, and can spot changes as they occur. This very early detection of anomaly is typically very, very early compared to a signature rule-based solution that has identified something that's a known bad. In fact, our perspective is that understanding what normal is tells us when abnormal occurs so early in the kill chain that you can mitigate that risk before it goes boom. On top of that, a secondary AI engine, Antigena, is also one of a kind. It takes autonomous actions. So the ability to not only identify the anomaly, but block that anomaly from behaving within the organization. Think for just a moment about a completely novel piece of ransomware. No one's ever seen it before. There's no rule, there's no signature for it. It infiltrates the organization either through a spearfishing attack, maybe a naive insider, and it begins reconnaissance. Well, there is no rule or signature for it, so it would never be identified by a rule or signature based engine on the inbound, example, firewall or email intrusion detection solution. Rather, it gets in unbeknownst to anyone. Well, immediately Darktrace knows that there's something odd, whether it's the way it's communicated internally or whether it begins reconnaissance or lateral motion, or it immediately begins command and control. All of those things would flag with Darktrace. Then Antigena can take the autonomous response of defending and mitigating that action for a period of time, or taking that device completely offline if that's the model that you wanted to deploy. Pretty straightforward solution. These products are critical and all intertwined. On top of the enterprise immune system in Antigena sits another component, Darktrace's Cyber AI Analyst. We spent over 3 years watching our 30 PhDs and our 100+ analysts and understanding how they triage our customers' alerts. Our cyber analysts understand what's going on, and through the course of the past 3 years, we've put machine learning and AI on our cyber analysts to understand how this works. And we've converted that into a product that we deliver now called Cyber AI Analyst. Cyber AI Analyst is all about mitigating that risk for you and your customers and delivering only the bits of information that are critical for you to make a decision about whether this is a risk or whether this is not a risk. The whole idea of Cyber AI Analyst is reducing the time to triage by upwards of 90%. What this does for you is it gets you to the decision 90% faster than you're capable of typically just triaging and remediating on your own. Talked a little bit about the immune system approach. I've already shared with you kind of the background for it and where it comes from. The idea of the human immune system. We have skin that protects us from most of the threats in the world, but we invariably have things that get into our systems. And our immune system is responsible for fighting off that illness or that change in our system when it does occur. Just like all organizations have a good firewall or good perimeter defenses with Carbon Black or CrowdStrike or other technologies of that nature, Okta, for example, or your firewalls. Darktrace also encourages the use of good cyber hygiene, but we recognize that once viruses do get in or infections do get in, that they have the propensity to spread rapidly or move around without knowledge. Well, that's why you need an immune system approach to mitigate that risk. That's really essentially what the immune system is. With autonomous response, I've touched on this briefly already. It's pretty straightforward. The ability to take a surgical action, to block a communication, to take a piece of communication that's not normal and block it, reinforce what we call the pattern of life for a device, a user, or a network segment. That pattern of life, a mathematical representation of, if you will, of what normal is for a device, we can reinforce that normal behavior for that device while mitigating the abnormal part of that device's behavior. A very, very surgical approach to delivering value across your entire digital infrastructure. We do this all with what we call a proof of value. It's pretty straightforward, 30-day free trial, if you will. I think Blake's going to talk a little bit about that when he gives a demo in just a few minutes. But I'll take you through just a couple of examples of catches in the environments that we support. This is an advanced ransomware infection with a telco. It's another example of how AI will supercharge attacks and can be easily leveraged in new forms of data destructive malware. Darktrace discovered that a new and advanced strain of ransomware had been deployed in an organization. The attack was automated and spread faster than ordinary ransomware. 9 seconds after the start of SMB encryption activities, Darktrace raised a prioritized alert, signifying that the anomaly required immediate investigation for the customer. As the behavior persisted over the next 24 seconds, Darktrace revised its understanding of the deviation, judging it to be active and fast-moving malware. While the security team had left the office for the weekend, Antigena was enabled in fully autonomous mode, and it surgically interrupted all encryption attempts while allowing normal activity and continued uninterrupted behavior of the normal behavior of the devices. This attack demonstrates how nascent automation can and is being leveraged as part of advanced attacker techniques. Digital environments are often bespoke and, because of increasing network complexity, are especially vulnerable to data destructive malware. This attack also demonstrates how there's an eminent fundamental orientation within the threat landscape, as campaigns will now leverage more ingenious, custom-made, and powerful forms of malware. One for Lateral Movement. This is a law firm. I'm happy to talk about this one, but I'm kind of running short on time. I want to get this over to Blake to do a demo. Let me see, what's the next one? Intelligent and Evasive C2. This one is actually a really good one. This was a power and water company. We detected a device infected with malware that had taken steps to disguise its activity as legitimate, staying covert within the target network for some time. Once the infected system, the malware utilized its own self-signed SSL certificate for a Windows update. The device then made subsequent HTTPS requests directly to an attacker-controlled IP address authorized by the fake Windows certificate. So you can see this is pretty ingenious. The communication was facilitated over ports 443 and 80, so it blended into normal and regular network traffic. There is also evidence that the threat actor utilized some alternative doppelganger techniques to reduce detectability within other network segments as well. And what we see is that in the future, weaponized AI will be able to adapt in real time and disguise itself within normal network traffic by intelligently understanding the context of the information in which it's utilized. We'll see that malware will pick up on weak points within the network. It'll mimic trusted environments and elements of the system. And all of this is designed to get to parts of the network where it can either cause the most destruction or harvest the most information. So this is a really good, interesting catch there. Data exfiltration, one of the biggest concerns that many of our customers share with us is the detection of leaking data, whether that be through DLP challenges with DLP software, or with employee termination and departure. This is one where Darktrace can begin to see very, very subtle movement of data in a very, very quick fashion. You can think of the Edward Snowden contractor issues from a few years back would be a great example of Darktrace being able to detect low and slow movement of data across a network. There's a wealth of information on this one, but again, I'm running a little bit short on time, and I want to get this over to Blake. Don't forget, please, I'm going to turn this over to Blake now, but please don't forget, if you have questions, post them in the question box down below. And if you have questions about the way Darktrace goes to market with our proof of value free trial, 30 days, don't hesitate letting one of us know. I will now pass this over to Blake. Give me one moment, please. Blake, you should have presenter rights now.
Thanks, Jeff.
My pleasure.
So I'm going to get right into the demo and our user interface. So as you see on your screen, this is the Darktrace user interface. It is entirely web-based, and this is real data from one of our customers, but of course it's been anonymized and scrubbed for this purpose. And really what you're seeing right now is your entire digital environment laid out in the same place. And because we're consistently monitoring your network and doing so in real time, you're going to get some real cool updates to go with that. So starting out, Darktrace is going to act like a heat map. So the cooler the cube, the more normal the network activity, but the brighter the cube, the more anomalous the activity. Over here to the left, you're going to see some summary statistics of your network. You can see Jeff kind of mentioned it. We're going to analyze and understand what is normal, and we're going to call that a pattern of life. So you can see we're currently analyzing over 1.3 million patterns of life, 28 subnets, 30,000 devices. Speaking into the visibility of Darktrace, if you want, you could click on that device count right here, and it's going to open up our device admin page, and it's going to give you everything that's ever been on your network or currently on your network with all sorts of statistics. Down here at the bottom is Antigena, and this is our autonomous response piece that Jeff mentioned earlier. And there's two modes that Antigena can be put in, and when we do a trial with you, the first mode is going to be human confirmation mode. And what that means is Antigena is going to want to take an action on your network, and you can confirm or deny that action within the user interface or our mobile app via push notification. A good use case of this is one of my customers is a large manufacturing company in the state of Arkansas. And day one, we had plugged in, and out of all places to be leaking data, we found that the CIO's conference phone was leaking over 3.6 gigabytes of data to China. So with a click of a button, they click confirm that action, and Antigena stopped that connection. And then the second mode Antigena can be put in is active mode or autonomous mode. So, for example, if that same model were to breach, Antigena would take that action in real time. Up here in the top right is our playback feature. It's exactly like the DVR on your TV. You can go back and watch an event as if it were happening live. And then up here in the top left is our Omni search bar. It's the Google of Darktrace. You could type in a certain user within the organization and get all the devices and event logs associated with them. You can type in a certain IP address. You can even type in a website, and it's going to give you the entire event log for the whole company. Pivoting from here is Antigena email. Just wanted to really preach about our ability to cover the entire digital state. So immediately what we're giving you right here is a high-level overview of what it looks like in your email environment over a given period of time. So what does it look like to be a trend in terms of, are we seeing more inbound mail? And of those emails, are there more suspicious links, more suspicious attachments, more spoofing emails? Maybe we want to see who the high-risk users are in our organization. We can look at this risk network graph, and my attention is immediately going to get brought to these two people with the bigger circles that are in bright red or orange. As you know, you find your high-risk users being people with the C-level title or someone in your finance department. And then finally, over here to the right, all of the unusual emails laid out for you as if they would be in your own inbox, but the only difference is Antigena email is in scoring is in bright red or orange, depending on the severity. Pivoting from here, I want to turn to our SaaS console, which is really unique. So this is our SaaS console right here. First thing you're going to see is a map, and what these dots are is every successful login that is happening within your SaaS environment. So our SaaS environment is going to be able to tell you, who's logging in from where, who's accessing what, who's downloading what, who's sharing what. Just to give you a good example, we can pull up this first alert right here. And as you can see, Darktrace is going to lay that out in a nice visual pleasing way. It's going to tell you what's going on and recommend an action. So right there, we already have an understanding of what has happened, and we know what we need to do. If we look down here to the right, you'll see the logs that are associated with this specific user. And one other thing that I like to show is locations. As you can see, this alert right here is for an unusual SaaS login. So this is going to tell me exactly where this account is being logged in from. So definitely unusual there. And I want to pivot back to our main user interface right here and really highlight on our threat tree right here, which is really the bread and butter of Darktrace. So this is going to give you every anomaly on your network. And in terms of a workflow perspective, there's a couple things you can do. Say you have 15 minutes to start your day out with, you can go in and filter this severity slider score up to about 85% and really focus on the highest priority alerts. You can filter by subnet, you can filter by time. One of my customers is really worried about lateral movement, so you can filter by things like lateral movement, and it'll show you all the models associated with lateral movement. Or we have pre-made filters, or pre-made models that you can look by. Or what you could do is turn to our Cyber AI Analyst capability. So you saw all of those threats right there, and that's each individual alert that Darktrace is going to give you. And so you can go in there and start to stitch out and figure out really what's going on with each alert. Or what you could do is you could click to the Cyber AI Analyst capability. And so what this is doing for you is giving you the who, what, where, why, and when in real time. So as you can see, this is going to save you a huge amount of time, because it would take any good analyst anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes to really understand what's going on, because of them having to sift through logs and figure out what's going on between multiple platforms. So I want to show you right here where this organization was hit by ransomware. And to start out with, the first thing you want to do in any sort of attack is find out who patient 0 is. So hovering over this device right here, you're going to get all the details associated with patient 0. Looking to the right, you get an overview of the scan and the scanning activity. From here, you want to see how the attack moved laterally across your network. Clicking on number 2, you're going to get a nice plain English summary of that. You can see the files that were written and where they were shared to. And then finally, you can see all the endpoints that were contacted. So you'd click on number 3, get a nice plain English summary of that. You can see all the suspicious endpoints that were contacted, any additional endpoints that were contacted, and then any other connecting devices that were included in this attack. And to sum this up right here, at this stage, it doesn't take a highly technical person to do any sort of investigations, because it's been done for you and converted into a digestible narrative. One thing Jeff really mentioned, I want to now take you into a demo, and Jeff mentioned across our customer base, what we're finding out is that a lot of them are really worried about data exfiltration. So let's take you into basically a workflow scenario. We're worried, and we have a model that is really talking about data exfiltration. So to start off my investigations, what I'm going to do right here is click this magnifying glass. And this is going to center the user interface around the 5-minute window. One sec. It's gotten a little small. Let me get back to there one sec, sorry. So I'll go and click, I'm gonna click devices most breached, because I understand my network better than anyone. I'm gonna click on Henry Jones. And from here, what I wanna do is click this magnifying glass. And this is gonna center the user interface around the 5-minute window. From here, I'm gonna move this to the right, and then I'm gonna open up this event log. And this is just gonna give us a minute by minute, second by second understanding of really what's going on. And in this demo, I'm going to show you how a former disgruntled employee attempted to steal data, and how Antigena stepped in to block all of those connections. So if we go back to the time that this employee was let go, we see that these green halos tell us something malicious has happened, and how Antigena has stepped in to neutralize the threat. And as it turns out, when Henry was let go, the company forgot to take away his corporate laptop and delete his corporate account. So while clearing out his things, he realized this, and what he did was he seized this opportunity. So he logged back into his SaaS account and started downloading as many sensitive files as he could, with the intention to exfiltrate all of that valuable data. He also created a new dark account to ensure that he would have access to the company when the IT team got around to deleting his corporate account. But thankfully, Darktrace analyzes logins and file access attempts and correlates them with daily patterns of life for everyone in the organization. So Darktrace's AI immediately picked up on the large file downloads, account creation, and attempted exfiltration. And because the organization had Antigena deployed, the data theft was neutralized within seconds. So clicking play right here, you're going to see Henry log in and start downloading as many sensitive files as he could. We're just going to let this play out for just a tad so you kind of get an understanding of the files that I'm talking about. So clicking pause right here, you can look at the kind of files and kind of understand where we're coming from. It was disaster recovery plans, system layout, master passwords, old context, you get the gist. Fast forwarding just a tad, you're going to see that he breaches his third model in Darktrace, which is the large volume of cloud file downloads. I'm going to click play here and let it continue on, and this is where it gets really interesting. You're going to see Henry stop downloading and create that dark account. And then in the attempt to upload these files, he tries to send them to a personal server at home, but because we're integrated with the firewall, we write a rule on the fly to block those connections. But he's persistent, and he's going to try and exfiltrate this data to several other sources. But because Antigena adapts to the threat as it unfolds and escalates the response, the system is able to surgically interrupt his malicious attempts in every case. And so Henry's going to try and upload all these files to an internal file transfer service and send it out that way. But Antigena is able to interrupt that final connection as well. And so in the end, no data was stolen thanks to Antigena and the enterprise immune system monitoring those daily patterns of life rather than relying on rules and signatures. And so Jeff, wanted to pass it back to you.
Thanks, Blake. Changing back now, I think you should be able to see the Q&A session. Rob, I just wanted to wrap this up with any questions from anyone in the group. If you do have questions, please post them in the question and answer box down below. Rob, anything from you that we want to cover off before we sign off here?
We did have a couple questions. I think you guys have really answered them, but I do want to share them just to make sure that we feel 100% comfortable. We covered each element of the question. One was there, with organizations still working from home or having a hybrid approach, does Darktrace have any endpoint protection? I don't know if you want to expand on that. You gave lots of information, but maybe we have some time. It might be good to expand on it.
Yeah, one of the components that Darktrace has released in our version 5, which has just been released in the past, I'd say past 4 weeks, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, our V5 update has a component within it called C-sensors, which is our ability to extend the enterprise immune system out to the endpoint. It's not a competitor for CrowdStrike or Carbon Black or other EDR tools, but what it does essentially is forms an understanding of the normal behavior of the laptop, of the person using the laptop, and at that extreme outside the perimeter area. And as Darktrace extends the enterprise immune system functionality and understanding of what normal looks like for that behavior, we can enforce that normal pattern of life for that user at the extreme outside endpoint perspective. So that's our C-sensor product. It's generally available, I think, next week, week after next, but certainly in concert with and in complement to your EDR solutions that you may have in place.
Good, Jeff. Thanks for the additional detail. Another question, and I know you guys spoke quite a bit about this, but it says 94% of threats originate from email. How is Darktrace addressing this? And I don't know if there's any additional details you guys want to share, but certainly if you do.
Yeah, the enterprise immune system functionality that's extended to antigenic email is a specific component that Darktrace deployed about a year ago now. Antigenic email is purpose-built to mitigate the risk that your typical Mimecast and Proofpoints and other tools like that cannot see. And that's simply, those tools are designed and built around rules and signatures, specific types of behavior that are common in email. Darktrace doesn't leverage those rules or signatures or common behavioral types. Instead, we look for abnormal behaviors. We look for the behaviors that are not normal for Jeff Cornelius to be sending or Jeff Cornelius to be receiving from. About 450 different antecedents are analyzed for every inbound and outbound email communication and all the links and hidden content within the emails. So antigenic email is designed specifically to mitigate risk around the emails that come through the gateways that miss the content that we in fact do catch with our customers.
Hey Jeff, what if we have customers that are already compromised?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the reason Darktrace is so valuable in environments where you're already compromised, meaning the known bad, the signatured or ruled known bad got through a gateway, got through some kind of an intrusion detection solution. The reason Darktrace is so valuable is because we're looking for anomalous behavior. And if you're compromised, a threat is going to do something. It's going to move, it's going to engage reconnaissance, it's going to establish a command and control position and action. All of those things are things that Darktrace would find. And all of those things occur before they go boom. So the beauty of having Darktrace in place is, regardless of whether you're a pristine, clean environment, we have customers that are in fact building environments brand new, spinning up virtual, spinning up SaaS and cloud-based solutions, all completely new. But the risk is, what happens when you bring content into those environments? You run the risk of bringing content that is infected with something. So that content gets in, right? Darktrace is there. Darktrace is watching normal behavioral patterns across that network infrastructure, across that cloud, SaaS, email infrastructure. We're understanding what normal looks like. Then the malware wakes up and it begins reconnaissance or lateral motion or C2 or some other functionality that is abnormal for the normal network behavior that we've seen. Darktrace flags on it. So the one great thing about leveraging cyber AI for defense is that nothing can get past us. We see the behaviors that are anomalous because we know what normal looks like for every device, user, and network segment within the environment.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeff. That was really good information. I don't see any more questions, but we do have a couple more minutes. I'm looking at the chat bar. Is there anybody out there that has a question while we still have a few minutes left? All right. I don't see anything being added. Well, guys, I want to thank Blake and Jeff for your time today. We appreciate the overview. The materials and the information was outstanding. I think it should give everyone a lot to think about, just the capabilities, but also just the unique challenges that we're facing collectively. With that, unless you guys have something else that you want to add, I want to thank everybody who's participated today for your time, and we look forward to having additional conversations, provide more detail. Jeff, Blake, anything else that you guys want to add before we wrap up?
No, Rob, just a huge thank you to you and the team at Mobius for helping us put this together, and for all of those on the call. Really appreciate your participation and your attention. Thank you all.